The morning sun cast long shadows across the parking lot of Rivera Logistics, one of the largest shipping companies in Houston, Texas. Maya clutched her worn resume folder as she stood in line with two other women, all waiting for their chance at a warehouse sorting position. Maya was a single mother to 7-year-old Emma, and this job meant everything. For months, she'd been struggling to make ends meet, taking odd jobs wherever she could find them. When she saw Rivera Logistics was hiring warehouse sorters, she knew this stable position could change their lives. Inside the building, CEO Daniel Rivera sat behind his desk, his assistant Linda by his side. Daniel had built this company from nothing, and he prided himself on hiring people with integrity. A warehouse sorter handles inventory worth millions, he explained to Linda. I need someone honest, someone who does the right thing even when no one's watching. Linda nodded, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her tablet. She'd worked alongside Daniel for 5 years, and while she appeared professional and efficient to him, everyone else in the company knew a different side of her: cold, demanding, and ruthless. The first applicant walked in. Her name was Crystal, and she carried herself with an air of overconfidence. She'd worked in several warehouses before, though her employment never seemed to last long. Crystal had a reputation for getting close to supervisors and managers, using charm to secure her positions. But her tactics had become too well known in her previous city, so she'd relocated to Houston for a fresh start. Daniel reviewed her file carefully. Your references are strong, he noted, though something about her demeanor made him cautious. He thanked her and asked her to wait in the hallway. The second applicant was Jessica, a former social media influencer whose online career had crashed after a public controversy. She had no warehouse experience whatsoever but desperately needed income. When Daniel asked about her qualifications, she shrugged. I'm sure you've seen my videos online. I have 3 million followers. I can bring publicity to your company. Daniel's expression remained neutral. We need someone skilled in inventory management and logistics. Social media following doesn't help us here. Jessica rolled her eyes and walked out to join Crystal in the waiting area. Finally, Maya entered the office. She sat down carefully, her hands folded in her lap. Despite her nervousness, there was something genuine about her presence that Daniel noticed immediately. Tell me about yourself, he said gently. Maya took a breath. My name is Maya Chen. I'm grateful for this opportunity, sir. I have a daughter who starts 2nd grade next month, and I've been looking for stable work. I've done warehouse sorting in my hometown for 3 years before moving here to Houston. This job would mean everything to us. Daniel studied her thoughtfully. He couldn't quite explain it, but he sensed an honesty in her that the others lacked. Still, he wasn't ready to make his decision based solely on interviews. Thank you, Maya. I'll need all 3 of you to return tomorrow morning for a practical assessment. The women left confused and frustrated. Crystal complained loudly in the parking lot. What kind of interview is this? He didn't even tell us who got the job. But Maya remained silent. She went home, hugged Emma tightly, and prayed that whatever challenge awaited her tomorrow, she'd have the strength to face it. That evening, Emma knelt beside her mother. Mama, I prayed for you today. God is going to help you get this job. I know it. Maya's eyes filled with tears as she held her daughter close. Thank you, baby. Your prayers mean everything to me. The next morning, Maya arrived at Rivera Logistics to find the gate unmanned and the main entrance open. Crystal and Jessica were already there, looking equally confused. They walked inside to find the warehouse office completely empty, doors wide open, papers scattered across desks. What is going on? Jessica muttered, looking around. She spotted something glinting on the main desk, a luxury watch, the same one Daniel had worn during yesterday's interview. Without hesitation, she picked it up and slipped it into her bag. Crystal walked around the messy office but didn't bother doing anything. She was used to performing only when someone important was watching. Maya, however, quietly began organizing. She picked up scattered papers, arranged them by category, and started straightening the workspace. She didn't care that no one was there to see her efforts. It simply felt like the right thing to do. What none of them knew was that Daniel was watching everything through the security system. He saw Jessica steal his watch, Crystal's indifference, and Maya's quiet diligence. When the women prepared to leave, he stepped out of his office with Linda beside him. "Maya," he said clearly, "you're hired." The words hit Maya like a wave of joy. The single mother nearly jumped with relief as Crystal and Jessica left in frustration. But what Maya didn't realize was that her time at Rivera Logistics would be anything but easy. Linda, standing beside Daniel with a tight smile, had already decided that this humble warehouse worker would never threaten her position, or her secret feelings for Daniel. As everyone congratulated Maya, Linda's eyes narrowed. She saw beneath Maya's simple clothes and tired expression. She saw the quiet beauty and genuine spirit that threatened everything Linda had been working toward for years. "I won't let this poor warehouse worker ruin my chances," Linda whispered to herself. And with that thought, she began planning exactly how to make Maya's new job a living nightmare. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment below telling us what you think will happen next. Will Maya survive Linda's schemes? Hit the notification bell so you don't miss chapter. Maya's heart was still soaring when she arrived home that evening. The moment she opened the door, Emma came running, her pigtails bouncing with each step. "Mama! Mama! Did you get it?" Maya swept her daughter into her arms, spinning her around their small living room. "Yes, baby. Mama got the job." Emma squealed with delight, and they danced around together, their laughter filling the tiny apartment. Maya pulled out the few dollars she had left from her savings and bought a small pizza from the corner shop. It wasn't much, but to them, it was a celebration. As they sat on the floor eating their pizza slices, Emma looked up with bright eyes. "Mama, when you start making lots of money, can I get new shoes? Mine have a hole." Maya's heart ached, but she smiled warmly. "You'll get new shoes, new clothes, everything you need, sweetheart. I promise." That night, after Emma fell asleep, Maya stared at her daughter's peaceful face and whispered, "Everything I do is for you, my love." But as she tried to sleep, a nagging worry crept into her thoughts. She remembered the way Linda had looked at her, with something cold and calculating behind those professional smiles. The next morning, Maya woke before dawn, determined to make a good impression. She arrived at Rivera Logistics early and immediately began organizing the warehouse inventory area. She swept, arranged boxes, labeled sections clearly, and made sure everything was spotless before anyone else arrived. When Linda walked in an hour later and saw the immaculate workspace, her jaw tightened. Instead of being pleased, she felt threatened. "So," Linda said slowly, walking around the organized shelves, "you've been busy." Maya smiled hopefully. "Yes, ma'am. I wanted to make sure everything was ready for the morning shift." Linda dragged her finger along a shelf, then suddenly pushed a stack of papers off a desk. They scattered across the floor Maya had just cleaned. "Oops," Linda said coldly. "Looks like you missed a spot." Maya's smile faltered. "Ma'am, I just organized that area. Did I ask for excuses?" Linda snapped. "Clean it up. And if I find one thing out of place, you won't last another day here." As Linda walked away, Maya's hands trembled. She bent down to gather the papers, fighting back tears. No matter how hard she worked, it seemed it would never be enough for Linda. "Maya!" A deep, concerned voice came from behind her. She gasped and quickly wiped her eyes. Daniel Rivera stood in the doorway, his expression worried. "Good morning, sir," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Were you crying?" he asked, stepping closer. "No, sir. Just dust in my eyes from cleaning." Daniel frowned but didn't push further. "Listen, I do something for my team members sometimes. Take them out after work to help them feel welcome. Would you join me this evening? Just to talk, get to know the company better." Maya's eyes widened. "Sir, you mean me?" He smiled kindly. "Yes, you. You've worked hard since you started, and I appreciate that. Everyone deserves to feel valued. That evening, Maya rushed home, washed up, and looked through her small closet. All she had were her work clothes and one faded dress. She sighed, putting on her cleanest warehouse uniform. It's decent and clean. That's what matters, she told herself. When Daniel's car pulled up outside her apartment building, his driver opened the door. Daniel looked surprised when he saw Maya still wearing her work uniform, but his expression softened with understanding. "Come with me," he said gently, and they walked across the street to a boutique. The staff looked surprised when the billionaire CEO walked in with a warehouse worker, but Daniel ignored their stares. "Please help her find something comfortable and elegant," he told them. Minutes later, Maya emerged wearing a simple navy dress that fit her perfectly. Her hair was brushed out, and with minimal makeup, she looked transformed. Daniel's breath caught. "You look wonderful," he said quietly. At the restaurant that evening, they sat at a corner table. Daniel tried to keep the conversation professional, but he found himself captivated by Maya's humility and wisdom. She spoke about raising Emma alone, about her dreams of giving her daughter a better life, about always trying to do the right thing. "You have real integrity, Maya," Daniel said. "That's rare these days." She blushed. "Thank you, sir. I just believe in being honest, even when no one's watching." Her words struck him deeply. This wasn't just a warehouse worker, this was a woman of genuine character. Meanwhile, across town, Linda sat in her car outside the restaurant. She'd followed Daniel's driver, and now she watched through the window as Daniel and Maya talked and laughed together. Her hands gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. "That warehouse rat," she hissed. "How dare she?" By morning, Linda had a plan. She marched into Daniel's office, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Sir, I feel I should tell you something about Maya. I did some research." Daniel looked up from his computer. "What is it, Linda?" "She's a single mother. She has a daughter. She's probably looking for someone to support her financially. You need to be careful. These women can be very manipulative." Daniel leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. Then he spoke calmly. "Linda, that makes me respect her even more." "What?" Linda stammered. "Do you know what it takes for a woman to raise a child alone and still come to work every day with dignity?" he asked. "That's not something to look down on. That's something to admire." Linda's face went pale. Her plan had completely backfired. As she left his office, she realized that everything she tried to use against Maya had only brought Daniel closer to her. And that's when Linda decided she needed to take more drastic action. Over the following weeks, something beautiful began to develop. After work, Daniel would often take Maya for short drives around Houston. Sometimes they'd stop for ice cream, other times they'd just talk while watching the sunset from a park overlooking the city. Before she left each evening, he'd hand her an envelope with extra money. "This is too much, sir," Maya would protest. "It's for Emma," he'd say with a warm smile. "Every child deserves a little happiness." Emma started running to the door each evening, calling out, "Mama, did Mr. Daniel give us treat money again?" They'd laugh together, counting out the bills and planning small purchases. New shoes for Emma, groceries for the week, maybe even a book or two. But while joy was growing in Maya's small apartment, darkness was spreading through Linda's heart. She arrived late to work now, snapped at everyone, and her cruelty intensified. The warehouse workers whispered among themselves, afraid to speak up but desperate for relief. One evening, during their usual drive, Maya was quieter than normal. Daniel noticed immediately. "What's troubling you?" he asked gently. Maya hesitated, twisting her hands in her lap. "It's about Ms. Linda, sir. She's not kind to people. Not just to me, to everyone. The workers are scared of her. She insults them, overworks them, and—" Her voice cracked. "I wasn't going to say anything, but people are really suffering." Daniel's expression grew serious. He'd trusted Linda for 5 years, but he couldn't ignore this. "I'll look into it," he promised. The next morning, Daniel began quietly asking employees about Linda's management style. Word traveled fast in the company, and by afternoon, Linda had heard that questions were being asked. One of the secretaries mentioned that Maya had spoken to Daniel the previous evening. Linda's rage exploded. She found Maya in the warehouse storage room, sorting inventory and humming softly to herself. "You!" Linda's voice cut through the air like a knife. Maya turned, startled. "Ma'am!" "Shut up!" Linda screamed, storming toward her. "You think because the CEO likes you, you can destroy my reputation? You think you're smart." "Ma'am, please, I don't." Maya tried to back away, but Linda grabbed her arm roughly. "I've given 5 years to this company." Linda shouted, her face twisted with rage. 5 years. And you waltz in here with your pathetic sob story and steal everything from me. Her hand swung out, striking Maya across the face. Once. Twice. Maya stumbled backward, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please stop," Maya cried, trying to shield herself. Other workers had gathered at the doorway, frozen in shock. No one moved. No one spoke. They were all too terrified of Linda's power. Linda raised her hand again, but suddenly a commanding voice thundered through the warehouse. "Linda! Stop immediately!" Everyone froze. Linda's hand hung in mid-air as she slowly turned around. Daniel Rivera stood at the entrance, his face dark with fury. The warehouse fell completely silent. You could hear nothing but Maya's quiet sobs and Linda's heavy breathing. Daniel's voice was cold and final. "Linda, you're fired. Effective immediately." The words hung in the air like a bomb. Workers gasped. Linda's face went white. "Sir, what did you just say?" she whispered. "I said you're fired," Daniel repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "I'll be documenting this assault and reporting it to the authorities. Security will escort you out." Linda dropped to her knees instantly, her professional facade crumbling. "Sir, please. Please don't do this. I've worked here for 5 years. I've given this company everything." Her voice broke with desperation. "I wake up early every day to look perfect for you. I wear colors you like. I thought maybe someday you'd see me." Tears poured down her face. But instead, you saw her, that warehouse worker who smells like cardboard and packing tape. What does she have that I don't? Daniel looked at her with a mixture of pity and disappointment. "It's not about appearances, Linda. It's about who you are inside. You spent years looking perfect on the outside, but you forgot that true beauty comes from kindness, not cruelty." He stepped closer, his voice softer but firm. "You had everything, a great position, respect, opportunity. But you threw it all away because you couldn't see beyond your own jealousy." Security guards appeared at the door. Linda sobbed as they helped her to her feet and escorted her out. Her cries echoed through the warehouse until the heavy doors finally closed behind her. Daniel turned to Maya, who was still trembling. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. She nodded, wiping her tears. "Yes, sir. Thank you. Take the rest of the day off," he said kindly. "Go home to Emma. And Maya." She looked up at him. "You were brave to speak up. Thank you for your honesty." As the weeks passed, rumors spread throughout Houston's business community. Linda had been blacklisted. No company wanted to hire someone with an assault record and a reputation for workplace abuse. In a twist of fate that seemed almost poetic, she eventually applied for entry-level positions at various warehouses, the very type of job she'd once mocked. Meanwhile, at Rivera Logistics, Maya flourished. Daniel promoted her to inventory manager, then to operations coordinator. She proved herself brilliant at logistics, and the workers loved her because she treated everyone with respect and kindness. 6 months after Linda's firing, Daniel drove to Maya's neighborhood one Saturday afternoon. When she opened the door, Emma came running out, shouting, "Mr. Daniel!" He scooped her up, and she giggled with delight. Maya, Daniel said seriously, I need to tell you something. She looked at him nervously. What is it, sir? I know you have a daughter. I know you're a single mother. I know about your struggles. He paused. And I want you to know that none of that matters to me, except that it makes me admire you even more. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I don't want to rush anything, Daniel continued. But I want to be here. For you and for Emma. If you'll let me. Maya's hand went to her mouth as tears spilled over. Sir, Just Daniel, he said softly. Please, just call me Daniel. She nodded through her tears. Yes. Yes, I'd like that. Emma tugged on Daniel's sleeve. Does this mean you're going to be my daddy? Daniel and Maya both laughed, tears mixing with joy. Let's take it one step at a time, Daniel said, ruffling her hair. But I promise you both, I'm not going anywhere. A year had passed since that pivotal day in the warehouse. Rivera Logistics had undergone a transformation, not just in structure but in spirit. Under Maya's influence as operations director, the workplace culture had shifted entirely. Workers felt valued, respected, and heard. Daniel and Maya's relationship had grown slowly and steadily. He'd attended Emma's school plays, helped with homework, and even coached a soccer team. Emma had started calling him Uncle Daniel, though the word uncle was beginning to feel insufficient for what he'd become to their small family. One autumn evening, Daniel picked up Maya and Emma for dinner. But instead of heading to their usual restaurant, he drove them to a beautiful venue overlooking the Houston skyline, the same place where he'd taken Maya on their first evening out together. Why are we here? Maya asked, confused but smiling. You'll see, Daniel said mysteriously. Inside the private dining room, fairy lights twinkled overhead, and a table was set with flowers and candles. Emma gasped with delight. Mama, it's like a fairy tale. As they sat down, Daniel seemed nervous, something Maya had never seen before. He kept fidgeting with his napkin, clearing his throat. Daniel, are you okay? Maya asked, concerned. He took a deep breath. Maya, do you remember the day we met? When you came for that warehouse sorting interview? She nodded, smiling at the memory. I saw something in you that day, he continued. Something genuine and rare. I've met thousands of people in my business career, but I'd never met anyone quite like you. He paused. You taught me that true worth has nothing to do with position or wealth. It's about character, integrity, and kindness. Emma watched with wide eyes as Daniel stood up and moved beside Maya's chair. Maya's heart began racing. You've changed my life completely, Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion. You and Emma both. You've shown me what really matters, what a real family feels like, what unconditional goodness looks like. Then, to Maya's shock, he knelt down on one knee. Emma squealed with excitement. Maya Chen, Daniel said, pulling out a small velvet box. Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Tears streamed down Maya's face as she looked at this man who had seen past her circumstances to her heart. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Daniel. 1,000 times yes. Emma jumped out of her chair and threw her arms around both of them, creating a three-person hug filled with laughter and happy tears. The next morning at Rivera Logistics, the news spread like wildfire. The CEO was marrying the former warehouse worker. Some people were surprised, others were inspired, but everyone who knew them both understood. This was a love built on respect, kindness, and genuine connection. But perhaps the most shocking moment came 2 weeks later. Maya was in her office when her assistant buzzed. Ms. Chin, there's someone here to see you. She says her name is Linda Patterson, and she's asking for just 5 minutes of your time. Maya's breath caught. Linda. After more than a year of silence, Linda wanted to see her. Send her in, Maya said quietly. The woman who walked through the door looked nothing like the polished, confident Linda she remembered. This Linda wore simple clothes, her hair was pulled back in a basic ponytail, and her face showed the weight of hardship. Most strikingly, her eyes held something they never had before: humility. "Maya," Linda said quietly, standing near the door as if afraid to come closer. "Thank you for seeing me." Maya gestured to a chair. "Please, sit down." Linda sat carefully on the edge of the seat. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands. Finally, she looked up. "I came to apologize," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know sorry doesn't undo what I did to you. It doesn't erase the pain I caused, the way I treated you and everyone else in this company." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was consumed by jealousy and pride. I thought I deserved Daniel's attention because I'd worked here longer, because I dressed right and said the right things." She took a shaky breath. "But you showed me something I'd forgotten, that who you are inside matters more than any title or appearance. I lost everything because I couldn't see that. My job, my reputation, my self-respect." Maya listened quietly, her heart softening despite the memories of pain. "I've spent the past year working in warehouses," Linda continued, "doing the same job I once mocked you for. And you know what? It taught me humility. It taught me that every person, regardless of their job, deserves dignity and respect." She wiped her eyes. "I heard about your engagement. I'm genuinely happy for you. You deserve every bit of happiness you found." Maya was silent for a moment. Then she spoke gently. "Linda, I forgive you." Linda's head snapped up in surprise. "I forgave you a long time ago," Maya continued. "Holding on to anger would only hurt me, not you. What you did was wrong, but everyone deserves a chance at redemption." Linda began crying in earnest now. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not," Maya said softly. "But I'm giving it anyway, because that's what grace is about. It's not about what we deserve, it's about choosing kindness even when it's hard." She stood up and walked around her desk, sitting in the chair beside Linda instead of across from her. "I heard you've been working hard, keeping your head down. That takes courage after everything that happened." Linda nodded, unable to speak. "Rivera Logistics has a new community outreach program," Maya said. "We're helping people rebuild their careers after setbacks. Would you be interested in being part of it? Not as a manager or anything high level, but as someone who could mentor others about learning from mistakes." Linda looked up with disbelief. You'd let me be associated with this company again?" "Everyone deserves a second chance," Maya said firmly. "But Linda, if you do this, it has to be genuine. No more cruelty, no more looking down on others. Can you do that?" Linda nodded vigorously. Yes, I promise. I'm not that person anymore. I don't want to be that person ever again." As Linda left the office that day, she carried something more valuable than a job offer. She carried hope. And for the first time in over a year, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could become someone worth respecting again. The spring wedding was simple but beautiful. Maya had insisted she didn't want anything extravagant, just their closest friends, family, and the employees from Rivera Logistics who had become like family to her. The ceremony took place in a small garden venue, with Emma as the flower girl. As Maya walked down the aisle in a modest but elegant white dress, Daniel's eyes filled with tears. This woman, who had walked into his company a year and a half ago wearing worn-out clothes and hoping for just a chance, was now about to become his wife. "I never imagined this," Maya whispered as they stood at the altar. "Neither did I," Daniel replied softly. "But I thank God every day that you walked into that interview." Among the guests sat Linda, who Maya had personally invited. It had been Daniel's idea initially, but Maya had embraced it. "If we truly believe in redemption," she told him, "we have to show it, not just speak it." Linda sat in the back row, crying quietly throughout the ceremony. These weren't tears of jealousy anymore. They were tears of gratitude. Maya's forgiveness had changed something fundamental in her. She'd spent months in therapy, working on herself, learning to find value beyond status and appearance. After the wedding, as the reception began, Emma tugged on Daniel's sleeve. He bent down to her level. Uncle Daniel, Daddy, can I ask you something? His eyes grew misty at hearing her call him Daddy for the first time. Anything, sweetheart. Why did Mama invite Ms. Linda? She was so mean to us. Daniel glanced at Maya, who was chatting with some guests, then looked back at Emma. Your Mama is one of the wisest people I know. She understands something important. That people can change, but they need help to do it. By forgiving Ms. Linda, your Mama gave her the chance to become better. Emma thought about this for a moment. Is that what being a grown-up means? Forgiving people even when they hurt you. That's what being a good person means, Daniel corrected gently. And your Mama is one of the best. Months passed, and life settled into a wonderful rhythm. Maya continued excelling as operations director at Rivera Logistics, implementing programs that improved worker satisfaction and productivity. The company's reputation grew not just for business success, but for ethical practices and employee care. Emma adjusted beautifully to her new life. She had her own room now, new clothes, books, and most importantly, a stable, loving home with two parents who adored her. One Saturday morning, as the three of them sat at breakfast in their new home, not a mansion Maya had insisted, just a comfortable family house, Emma was working on a school project about heroes. Mama, she asked, for my project, I have to write about my hero. Can I write about you? Maya's eyes filled with tears. Baby, I'm not a hero. I'm just your Mama. But you are a hero, Emma insisted. Ms. Johnson at school said heroes are people who stay strong even when things are hard, who are kind even when others are mean, and who help people even when they don't have to. That's you, Mama. Daniel reached across the table and squeezed Maya's hand. She's right, you know. You're a hero to a lot of people. That afternoon, Maya received a call from Linda, asking if they could meet for coffee. Over the past months, they developed an unlikely friendship, not close, but based on mutual respect and genuine reconciliation. At the coffee shop, Linda shared exciting news. I wanted you to be the first to know. I've been accepted into a social work program at the university. I'm going to get my degree and work with people who've made mistakes, who need help turning their lives around. Maya's face lit up. Linda, that's wonderful. You'll be amazing at that. I wouldn't be here without you, Linda said earnestly. You showed me that redemption is possible, that our past doesn't have to define our future. I want to help others understand that too. As they talked, Maya reflected on how far they'd both come. A year and a half ago, they'd been on completely different paths, one consumed by jealousy and cruelty, the other just trying to survive and provide for her daughter. Now, they were both in places of purpose and peace. That evening, as Maya tucked Emma into bed, her daughter asked, Mama, do you think Ms. Linda is happy now? I think she's working on it, Maya replied. And that's what matters, that she's trying to be better. Like in your favorite saying, Emma said sleepily. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Red heart. Maya smiled and kissed her forehead. Exactly, baby. Exactly. Downstairs, Daniel was reviewing some paperwork when Maya joined him on the couch. He put his work aside and pulled her close. What are you thinking about? He asked. About how strange life is, Maya said softly. 18 months ago, I was terrified about how I'd provide for Emma. I was applying for a warehouse job, hoping for just enough money to get by. And now. She gestured around their comfortable home. Now I have all this. Not just the house or the financial security, but you, a real family, purpose in my work. You earned every bit of it, Daniel said firmly. Not because you married me, but because of who you are. Your integrity, your kindness, your strength, those opened every door. I just happened to be smart enough to recognize it. We both got lucky, Maya said, snuggling closer. No, Daniel corrected. We both recognized something real when we found it. That's not luck, that's wisdom. As they sat together in comfortable silence, Maya thought about everything she'd learned through her journey. She'd learned that true worth isn't measured by job titles or bank accounts. She'd learned that kindness costs nothing but means everything. She'd learned that doing the right thing when no one is watching builds character that shows when everyone is watching. Most importantly, she'd learned that redemption is possible for everyone. Whether you're a single mother trying to provide for your child or a powerful assistant who lost everything through pride and cruelty. The key is having the humility to change and the courage to become better. 6 months later, Maya stood before a group of new Rivera Logistics employees during orientation. As the operations director, she often spoke to new hires, but today felt special. "I want to tell you something about this company," she began. "When I first walked through these doors, I was applying for a warehouse sorting position. I was a single mother, broke, and desperate for a chance." She saw some employees exchange surprised looks. "I got the job not because I had the best resume or the most experience, but because I did the right thing when I thought no one was watching. This company values integrity above all else. Not because it sounds good in corporate speeches, but because character determines everything. How you treat colleagues, how you handle pressure, how you represent this company." She paused, making eye contact with different people in the room. Some of you might be starting in entry-level positions. Some might feel like you're at the bottom looking up. But I'm here to tell you that in this company, there is no bottom. There are only people doing honest work, and we value every single one of you. As the orientation ended, a young woman approached Maya hesitantly. "Ms. Chin, thank you for that speech. I was feeling discouraged about starting in the warehouse, but you gave me hope." Maya smiled warmly. "What's your name?" "Sophia," the young woman replied. "Sophia, let me tell you something. Some of the most important lessons I learned were in that warehouse. Work hard, be honest, treat people with respect, and watch how God opens doors you never imagined. I'm living proof of that." As Sophia walked away with renewed confidence, Daniel appeared beside Maya. "You know what I love most about you," he said. "What's that?" "You never forgot where you came from. Success didn't change your heart." Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. "How could I forget? That struggle made me who I am. Every hard day, every moment of doubt, every prayer whispered in desperation, they all led me here. I wouldn't erase any of it." That night, as Maya put Emma to bed, her daughter had one final question. "Mama, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. How do I do that?" Maya thought carefully before answering. "Baby, be yourself, not me. But I can tell you this, always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Be kind, even to people who aren't kind to you. Work with excellence, whether anyone notices or not. And most importantly, never let anyone make you feel small because of your circumstances. Your character is what defines you, not your job or your address or your bank account." Emma hugged her mother tightly. "I love you, Mama. You're my hero." "And you're mine," Maya whispered back. As Emma drifted off to sleep, Maya stood by the window, looking out at the Houston skyline. She thought about that frightened woman who'd stood in line 18 months ago, clutching a worn resume folder and praying for just a chance. She thought about the slaps, the insults, the tears shed in storage rooms when she thought no one cared. But someone had been watching. Someone had seen her character when she thought she was invisible. And that had made all the difference. Her phone buzzed with a text from Linda. "Just finished my first week of classes. It's hard, but I'm doing it. Thank you for believing I could change." Maya smiled and typed back. "Proud of you. Keep going." Daniel came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "About second chances," Maya said. "About how we're all just one decision away from changing our entire lives. I chose to be honest when I could have walked away. Linda chose to change when she could have stayed bitter. You chose to look past my circumstances when you could have just hired someone with a better resume." "Those weren't chances," Daniel said softly. "Those were choices. And choices reveal character." Maya turned in his arms to face him. "Promise me something. Anything." Promise that no matter how successful Rivera Logistics becomes, we'll never forget what really matters. That we'll always treat people with dignity, give second chances, and value integrity over appearances. Daniel kissed her forehead. I promise. Those values aren't just company policy, they're our family values now. And they always will be. 3 years later, Rivera Logistics had become one of the most sought-after employers in Houston, not just for competitive pay, but for their ethical treatment of workers and their unique second-chance hiring program. Maya had spearheaded the initiative, which gave opportunities to people rebuilding their lives, formerly incarcerated individuals, those recovering from addiction, and people who'd made career mistakes. Linda had graduated with her social work degree and now ran the program alongside her private practice. She'd become a powerful advocate for workplace dignity and redemption, speaking at conferences about her own transformation. Emma, now 10 years old, had grown into a compassionate, confident young girl who volunteered with her mother at community centers, helping other children whose parents were struggling. One evening, the family attended an awards ceremony where Maya was being honored as Houston's Business Leader of the Year for her innovative programs and ethical leadership. As she stood at the podium accepting the award, she looked out at the audience, at Daniel and Emma in the front row, at her employees and friends scattered throughout the room, at Linda sitting proudly with tears in her eyes. This award has my name on it, Maya began, but it represents something much bigger than me. It represents the power of second chances, the value of character over credentials, and the truth that how we treat people matters more than how much money we make. She paused, collecting her thoughts. 3 years ago, I was a single mother applying for a warehouse job, hoping someone would give me a chance. I got that chance because someone looked past my circumstances and saw my character. Since then, I've tried to do the same for others. We live in a world that often judges people by their titles, their addresses, their bank accounts, or their past mistakes. But I've learned that those things don't define us. What defines us is how we treat others when we have power, how we respond to hardship, and whether we're willing to help people become their best selves. She glanced at Linda, then continued. Some people in this room know they've made mistakes. Some have struggled. Some have been knocked down. But you're here tonight because you got back up. You changed. You chose to become better. That takes more courage than never falling in the first place. The audience erupted in applause. Many were wiping their eyes. So this award isn't just mine, Maya concluded. It belongs to every person who's ever been underestimated, overlooked, or written off, and who proved the doubters wrong. It belongs to everyone who chose kindness when cruelty was easier. It belongs to everyone who believes that people deserve dignity and second chances. Thank you. As she left the stage, Emma ran up and hugged her tightly. Mama, that was amazing. Daniel kissed her cheek. I'm so proud of you. But the most meaningful moment came when Linda approached, her eyes red from crying. Maya, she said, her voice thick with emotion, thank you for saving my life. Maya shook her head. I didn't save your life, Linda. I just showed you it was worth saving. You did the hard work of changing. But you believed I could, Linda insisted. When no one else would, you did. That belief gave me hope. And hope gave me the strength to become someone I could respect. The two women embraced, not as former adversaries, but as sisters who'd both learned profound lessons about grace, redemption, and the true meaning of success. That night, as Maya and Daniel drove home with Emma asleep in the back seat, Maya reflected on her journey. From desperate single mother to operations director to award-winning business leader, it seemed impossible. Yet here she was. Do you ever miss the simplicity? Daniel asked quietly. Before all this. Maya thought for a moment. I miss the quiet sometimes. But I don't miss the struggle, the fear, the uncertainty. And I wouldn't trade this, she gestured to their sleeping daughter, then squeezed his hand, for anything in the world. Even though it came with so much pain along the way. Especially because of that, Maya said firmly. The pain taught me compassion. The struggle taught me strength. The uncertainty taught me faith. Every hard moment prepared me for this purpose. She looked back at Emma, sleeping peacefully. And most importantly, it taught her that circumstances don't define you. She's growing up watching her mother work hard, treat people with dignity, and never forget where we came from. That's worth more than any amount of money or any award. Daniel smiled. She's lucky to have you as her mother. We're all lucky to have each other, Maya corrected. This is what family means, not perfection, but people who choose to love, support, and believe in each other every single day. As they pulled into their driveway, Maya felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. Life hadn't been easy, and it hadn't been perfect. But it had been real, meaningful, and full of purpose. She thought about the scared woman who'd stood in that line hoping for a warehouse job. If she could go back and tell that woman what the future held, would she even believe it? Probably not. But that woman had possessed something invaluable: integrity that couldn't be shaken by hardship, kindness that couldn't be dimmed by mistreatment, and faith that refused to die even in the darkest moments. Those qualities had opened every door that followed. Not luck. Not chance. Character. And that, Maya realized, was the real lesson of her story. Success isn't about where you start, it's about who you choose to be along the way. It's about doing the right thing when no one's watching, showing kindness when it's not returned, and believing that your circumstances don't define your worth. As she carried Emma inside and tucked her into bed, Maya whispered a prayer of thanksgiving. For second chances. For redemption. For love that sees past appearances to the heart. For a daughter who would grow up knowing her worth wasn't tied to external things. And for the reminder that sometimes, the very thing meant to destroy you becomes the doorway to your greatest blessing. The next morning, Emma woke up early and climbed into bed between Maya and Daniel. "Mama," she said sleepily, "I had a dream last night." "What about, sweetheart?" "I dreamed that I helped someone like you helped Ms. Linda. Someone who was sad and needed a friend." Maya's heart swelled. "That's a beautiful dream, baby." "It's not just a dream, Mama. I want to do that when I grow up. I want to help people like you do." Daniel and Maya exchanged looks over her head, looks of pride, love, and hope.